All right, so I'm going to play the movie clip right now. Give it a few more seconds.
They say that they're interested in taking care of the little innocent ones. They're not taking care of our son. They told us they could do a better job than us, Doc. That's what they said.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection. Okay, and that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
You're not proving your guilt, innocence, or anything. You're proving how better a parent you are to the system. And you're just driving to be the parent.
Typically associate blessing with this fictional, painless existence and things going as we think they should.
It's so frustrating when you're the parent and you feel like, the judge, he doesn't know. And like you said, who is he going to believe? The parents accused of these horrendous allegations, or the social worker? Why would she lie about it?
The kids are traumatized, and the one person that they need to go to is still unsure what really happened.
Were there signs there? Were there no signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
The families are destroyed, sometimes never to come back the same.
Come here.
Kids are not safe in child protective services.
So my son with special needs has been in 4 different homes. It doesn't seem real.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
All right, that is a movie that's premiering this Saturday at the Awareness Film Festival in Los Angeles, California at LA Live. You can go to awarenessfestival.org to get tickets, or to get a ticket to watch it virtually. So no matter where you are in the world or the country, you can watch that by getting a ticket for virtual viewing on Saturday. That movie, by the way, is produced and directed by a gentleman that was our guest last night on Aaron Carranza's show, and his name is Jeremy Polan. And he took him about 3 years to make this movie. So please, if you can, log on Saturday night and watch this movie. It's going to be, it's an incredible movie, and it tells a story that I don't think the public knows about. All right, my name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and the name of this show is Relatives Fight CPS. And my co-host is Georgette Truin. Georgette, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Hello, my name is Georgette Truin, and I work for the law office of Vincent Davis, and I'm also the co-host for the Relative Fight CPS. And I'm the advocate for parents and relatives placements.
All right, and tonight we have a very special guest. His name is Tracy Briggs. Mr. Briggs, good evening.
Good evening.
So tell me, how are you associated with this show, and why are you appearing tonight?
Well, my son got his kids taken from him And I got involved because they were placed in the system and no one notified anyone on his side of the family. And if they had, they would have never been put in the system. So I started doing some research, and I actually ran across one of your videos and blogs, and I started listening. And unfortunately for my son, it was a little too late, because 2 weeks ago they actually ended his rights for his twins.
Well, what happened? Tell me why you didn't get the kids.
The beginning of the story started when the kids were born. He was not married to this young lady. Unfortunately, she was on drugs, so the kids were taken in the very beginning, the twins, and her older two daughters, which were not his, placed with someone in her family. And the CPS did a bad job there, because that young lady ended up on drugs as well. And my son had done all the case plans and everything needed. He ended up with all 4 kids because he did not want to separate the sisters. And when they were taken from him, he gave my name, my sister's name, my cousin's name, and we were never reached. Of course, this happened in the late end of 2019. And when we started getting involved, of course, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, everything closed. So there was no way to get in touch with social workers. Phone calls were not returned. All you could do was leave a message with the receptionist. And it was basically, they were wanting him to sign away his rights, which he would not do. And everything was just delayed. And no one never called me. And when I heard one of your podcasts about the social worker is responsible to reach out to the grandparents, you actually said, and this has stuck with me, that my son could have gave them, I believe you said, 25 people's names who have somehow related or know those kids, and no matter where they are, that social workers should reach out and investigate those people. And you said they could be anywhere in the world.
That's right.
And that has stuck with me. And I live just a county away, and I was never contacted. And
what county was this case in?
It is in Fayette County, which is Lexington, Kentucky. And so we actually ended up hiring him a lawyer, because his court-appointed attorney was telling my son to be quiet in court, let me handle it. And I'm trying to get the lawyer that we hired to get the disc from court, because my son actually said he told the judge that he thinks I work for him and told him to be quiet. But I think what has really got me bothered is that the procedures were not followed, and they ended up taking my son's kids because they were in the system. And the judge actually said they needed to prove nothing, but they were there for more than 15 months. And my son's lawyer said, well, if they had followed procedure, they would have never been put in the system, because his father and my wife were willing to take the kids, but we were never reached. And one of the weirdest things now is that another case, my son has a 12-year-old from another lady in a different county, but the same state. And unfortunately, she ended up in the system, and they called me that very same day. And I went and picked up my grandson. It's from my perspective, the lawyer's perspective, you have 2 counties in the same state under the same umbrella, but one county did their job and one county failed to do their job. Or I don't know if failure is the right word. I think they chose not to. In the court.
Wait, hold on.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think they chose not to contact you regarding the twins?
Well, talking to the lawyer that we hired my son when, of course, I was a witness, so I was not able to sit in the courtroom. When the young lady, he got the young lady on the stand and asked her, why did you not reach out to Mr. Briggs, who now has his 12-year-old? Her response was, I did not know he existed. And how can I not exist? My son, has a father. The social worker, he's had 3 social workers. The latest one that he has, when he got her on the stand, he asked her, have you had any problems reaching Mr. Briggs? She said no. He also asked her, to your knowledge, did the cabinet ever reach out to his family? She said, not to my knowledge. So all of that is in the court record. And
did you or your son try to appeal the judge's decision not to place the twins with you?
No, sir. Did not know about it. Did not at that time. He still had his court-appointed attorney, and this was during COVID when I was trying to get involved to get my grandkids out of the system, and I never could. My son gave me his caseworker's email. When I would email her, it would come up that it couldn't be sent to that address. And I was like, I don't understand why it can't be sent to this address. My son started getting the same information when he tried to email his caseworker. It would come up, email could not be sent to this address. It was almost as if they blocked his emails, because in court, they basically said, we're terminating his rights because he abandoned his kids. The lawyer said, if he abandoned his kids, why did he complete all of his case plans? Why is he still here? And the social worker in the next county, which is just 35 miles away, when the 12-year-old was placed, they actually said that my son does not have to do any more case plans. We're going to base it all on what Lexington has done. And everything looks fine. And they were moving towards unsupervised visits because the caseworker said, your son has just as much rights as the mother. She did a visit at his house, said everything seems fine. I don't understand what's going on in Lexington. And those 2 counties actually had a meeting before his rights were terminated. And from the caseworkers telling me, her supervisor could not understand how Lexington had gotten to this point, and he wanted to know why.
How long ago did this happen?
The termination of rights just happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay. And did you ever file any paperwork with the court to have the children placed with you?
I did not.
Okay. Is there a reason why?
I didn't know that I could. And unfortunately, I was ignorant about that. I did not know that the grandparents had those type of rights.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever listen to any of my shows where I advise people to file complaints with the federal government?
I have, and I'm glad you brought that up, because they were talking about the time that my son had not reached out to CPS. They even said he never reached out to pay us any child support for the kids. And, of course, they never contacted him. But
wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
My question was, have you ever seen one of my shows where I mentioned making complaints?
Yes. And
okay, hold on. Did you make a complaint, or did your son make a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C.?
Not in Washington, D.C., but he did make a complaint in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is the capital. And
so the Department of Health and Human Services is a federal agency. It
yes,
has
sir.
nothing to do with the state of Kentucky.
Okay.
Sometimes the states have similar sounding names for similar organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make a complaint. And I always tell people this, with Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. Don't go to the one in your state.
Right.
Because especially if if CPS in your state is state backed, or it doesn't matter if it's county backed, there might be a problem, regarding some type of conflict of interest.
Yes, sir.
You have to go to the federal government.
Okay.
You know why we have the federal government? Why we just don't have state governments? Because if you remember from civics class, the founding fathers were concerned that the states might take advantage of their citizens and the citizens would have no place to turn. So they created a federal judicial system. And this, all of CPS basically is running on federal money. So you got to go to the feds.
Okay.
All right. The same thing with the U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division. Did you make a complaint there?
No, sir. These are things that I'm hearing for the first time.
Okay. Now, I hope you have a pen and a piece of paper. If not, you'll have to watch the replay of this on social media.
No, my wife is taking notes right now.
Okay. So this is the first thing you have to do, other than those complaints. Number one, your son has to file an appeal.
Yes. Because
there's some issues here where how can you get a kid back in one state, in one county, but not in the other? That doesn't make sense. That was for the father, but here's for the grandfather. How could you get one kid and not from one county and not get from the other county? That's a significant problem. All right.
Yes.
There's also a problem where you were not notified. There's a county up in Northern California where I live, and this is what they do. And they do this as a result of a lawsuit that was filed against them. In every case, they have a special unit it's a private company, really, that is given the names and of the parents. And this private company does a background check to try to find possible relatives. And what they do is once they find them, they contact the relatives. And they usually say something like, "You don't really want this child, do you?" Right? And they don't tell them about the money that's going to be given to them to help take care of the kid and, all that type of stuff. So it's alleged. That's what I've been told. But they actually go out and look for relatives. And then they turn that report, into the judge. It's part of their social study in their jurisdictional dispositional report. Okay? Now, I have done cases all over California. Not in every county, but in a lot of them, from the Oregon border down to the Mexican border. This is the only county that I've come across that does that. There's 57 or 58 counties in California, and I've only come across one county that does that. Now, there could be a lot of reasons why. Money. Costs money to do that kind of investigation, right?
Right.
I live in the largest county in the state, Los Angeles. They don't do that. Sometimes they do, but it's not rare. And usually I get this kind of response. "Oh, the parents didn't tell us there were relatives." Well, damn near everybody that's born has relatives.
Has a relative.
Right. Now, here's the thing, the way I interpret the law, that the county must take on the burden of finding relatives. And so many times it seems like it's accepted in the courtroom that, if the parents didn't tell, too bad. But that's not the law. The law is that the county is supposed to go out and find relatives. They're supposed to do a due diligence. And if they don't, it's too bad. It's, basically, so what? I did a trial maybe a month ago in a county here in Southern California where this was the issue. There was an aunt and uncle from New Jersey, right, who the social workers never contacted, but they knew about them, right? They knew about them.
Right.
And the judge ruled that the children couldn't be placed there, mainly because the children had been in a foster home and had formed emotional and psychological and physical bonds with the foster parent. which, by the way, I don't have any problem with that fact. All right. It's true. It's probably true. But I do have a problem in saying that outweighs being placed with a blood relative. So many times the federal courts have written that the family is the fabric of our society.
Right.
Well, if that's true, why are we saying kids can't be placed? When kids are removed from parents, that physical and psychological and emotional bond they have with their parents is broken. There's damage to that kid. All right.
Right.
Are they resilient? Well, we would hope so. Right. But as a society, do we really want to just ignore the familial bond? Not too long ago, I asked for some children to be placed with relatives. And, I kind of got a look from everybody in the courtroom like, is he crazy? Like, why is he bringing that up?
Wow.
Right?
Right.
And I remind people all the time, hey, there's a law in California, and it says we have to do everything to check out these relatives to place kids there. I can tell you in my humble experience, this is just my experience, okay? I'm not saying it's like this for everyone and everybody. But in my experience, that usually isn't the case. Now, in a lot of cases, social workers bend over backwards to give kids to the relatives. But not in cases that I'm involved with, because remember, if you have a case and everything's going along swimmingly well, you're not going to call me.
Right.
I'm never going to hear about you or your case. It's when you have a problem. So people call me, and the problem is they can't get the kid with the relative. I started this show with Georgette, Relatives Fight CPS, not because it was just something that I dreamt about. It was something because I see this all the time, or a lot of the times.
Right.
And I just scratch my head sometimes, like, why is it so hard to get a kid with a relative?
And I'm sorry to interrupt. One of the things that the prosecution said was they need to be left with this foster family because they love them, as if we don't love them. For her to make that statement was crazy.
Right. Wow. Here's another story. This has happened in a Southern California county. This couple from in the middle of the country, somewhere in central United States, I think it was like Wyoming or someplace like that. They call me up, and it's the aunt and uncle. Now, the aunt is a very successful business person. The uncle was a high school principal, and they lived in a rural county, and they were big on, in their church. He was an assistant pastor. I mean, they were squeaky clean. It was middle America.
Right.
And it came out that she and her husband attended the very first hearing, the very first juvenile dependency hearing, which is called the arraignment detention hearing. And they told the judge that they wanted the kid, right? Apparently the mother had moved to this county in California, had followed some guy, had fallen in love with them. They got into drugs, they had a baby, and of course CPS took the child away, right? And placed the child, and I'll be honest, placed the child with a great foster family. And these people were perfect as well.
Right.
The problem is that it came out that the social worker was delaying placing the children with the foster family. She didn't testify to this, but she said that when the ICPC was ordered, she took her time about submitting the paperwork to have the relatives checked out in this other state. And when the report came back, it just sat on her desk for weeks. And she never said this, but the implication was she wanted the kid with the foster parent, to form that emotional, psychological, and physical bond. So that when it finally came up, when the issue finally comes up, Judge says, well, I can't break that bond.
Right.
Right. And you know, that's happens to be the law right now in California. Okay. I don't agree with it, but it happens to be the law. So, you know, judges following the law. But what we were doing was we were rewarding bad or intentional conduct of the social worker to basically keep the kid in their county with perfect foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's theories about that. One is, you know, all the money the county gets for this case follows the kid. Why in the world would they send this kid to Central United States to another state when they could keep the kid there and get all the federal funds? Why
Right.
would you do that? Same thing with your situation. County, you got the kid in the county where the case was. You didn't get the kids in the county where you didn't live. And there might be some concern, I'm just saying might, that, you know, if the money follows the kids, you know, it goes from one county A to county B.
Right. Well, actually, I don't live in either county.
Oh, okay. Okay.
One is in Fayette County. One is in Clark County. I actually live in Jessamine County, which is 3 different cities, but yet they're 15-minute drives away from each other.
Wow. Well, it's a shame. So I was telling you what to do. So you got the 2 federal complaints, administrative complaints, right? We got your son files a notice of appeal. If the adoption, and it doesn't sound like it has gone through, if there hasn't been an adoption, if I were you, I'd get an attorney myself and file all the paperwork and motions that I could, you know, to try to get the child placed with me. It might be a very slim chance of winning.
Right.
But if it's my grandchild, I mean, I'm going to try everything that I can. Now, if you were in California, and you're not, but if you were in California, I would file what's called a 388 petition. I would file a motion for de facto standing under a case called Charles S. I would file a JV 285. You know, I would file these things so that the judge will know that there's relatives out there. Not that the judge will do anything, but there's relatives out there that the county should have found and should have placed the child with. So get an attorney, see if there are like motions and petitions you can file in your state, right?
Yes, sir.
And try to do it. Try to do it.
Well, that's
So, the other thing that you might want to talk about is talk to a civil rights attorney. You may have a claim under federal civil rights. It's hard. It's a tough one because they give more rights to the parents than they do to the grandparents. Or you may have a claim under the state civil rights laws in your state. I don't know. I'm not licensed there. But at least you need to go get a free consultation or pay a couple bucks to talk to a civil rights lawyer and see, you know, what have they done? What are they doing? Right?
Right.
You know, and sometimes these cases do change the way counties and states operate. There's a guy couple guys down in San Diego who are really gurus at suing social workers. And some of the work they've done has actually changed, you know, caused counties up and down California to change the way they operate in certain fashions. You know, for example, social workers used to go out and detain children without warrants all the time.
Right.
Used to?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Did you say used to?
Right. Well, let me tell you what happened. They were doing that. They got sued. They lost. And then for a long time, the county just, you know, got to get a warrant for everything. But I am getting a lot of calls, and so is Georgette, from people, counties, you know, taking kids without a warrant anymore, you know, and it's like, what? You know, I thought they lost big money on that, but they're still, you know, they go back to doing it because it's not their money. It's not the social worker's money. Social worker does whatever they want to do, whatever they think is best, I guess. And then if they have to get sued, you know, the county pays the money. It's not their money.
Well, social workers don't get fired either.
Well, you know, you're right. I had one case where a lady got fired. And let me tell you what she got fired for. She allegedly took a kid away from a mother, or kids, I forget, based on the fact that the mother was getting, I think, about $1,500 $1,500 from the father for child support. Well, the father coincidentally starts dating the social worker, and I guess gives him the idea of how to get the kids away from, or kid away from, the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And when she first told me the story, I was thinking, yeah, I can see that happen. You know, people are human beings. Shit like that happens all the time in life, right? But then I said, how is this lady going to prove it? So I told her, I said, look, if you ever get some solid evidence, and she said that she had mentioned this in court, and the people were like, come on, you know, we don't believe that. Or maybe, how are you going to prove that? But I see she, you know, everybody was carrying one of these or beginning to carry one of these, right? She was standing outside the motel door and videotaped the two of them coming out of the motel.
Wow.
Right? We ended up, she got her kids back. We ended up suing the social workers in the county of Los Angeles. And we went to, before the case went to trial, we went to a mediation. Who's the mediator's job is to, you know, settle the case. And the mediator convinced my client to settle the case against my advice. I told her, don't settle the case.
Right.
And she did anyway, but, you know, it was life-changing money for her. And the mediator was right. I mean, anything could happen at trial. I mean, I've lost cases I never should have lost. I've won cases I never should have won. So, you know, to a certain extent, the mediator was right. You don't know what's going to happen to Davis at trial.
Right.
So well, she settled the case. But, you know, that's, you gotta talk to somebody. Try to make some change by way of lawsuit.
By the way. And I heard you talking about taking kids without warrants. Now, when they took the kids from my son, he actually had gotten picked up on a failure to appear where they said he owed child support. He didn't. He just didn't show up for court to prove that he didn't. And that's when they took the kids. But yet no one in his family, I mean, you would think if you're going to take his kids because he's in court, in jail for a week or two for failure to appear, wouldn't you contact his family to give his kids to his family? And I want to be crystal clear on everything that has happened. Now, when he got the kids, their mother was not supposed to be around. Now, he was mistaken. I've been totally clear with him as well. Why did you have her there? And that's why they were taken, because she was there. And of course, the judge feels disrespected that you disobeyed my order. Well, while my son's working 2 jobs, somebody had to watch the kids. Now,
I know, but you can't disobey the judge's orders.
Disobey the judge's orders. And I think that's what got the ball rolling for the judge.
Right.
You disobeyed the judge.
Right. Do you have any questions you want to ask Tracy, Georgette?
Tracy, I'm just gonna say what's on my heart, okay?
Okay.
Whether your son disobeyed the order or not, I have seen judges with criminals disobeying orders, actually the abusers disobeying a court order, and they get away with it. Okay? I've seen that happen. So to me, it's not about pissing off the judge, it's who the judge chooses to do favors to. Okay? It's who the judge likes. It's all on the outside with judges. It's not really what the evidence or facts or anything like that. It's who the judge feels, you know, he or she that, you know, hey, I like this person today. I hate this person tomorrow. Let's see what we can do with this person today. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I have seen them let criminals go and give criminals their kids back. And they still disobeyed their orders. Okay? That's all. Vincent.
Oh, that's all?
He wasn't listening to me as usual.
Tracy,
God bless
Tracy,
Mr. Davis.
Georgette and I have a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get in the same place, no doubt. But how we get there, we have differing opinions on. And I look at this as being natural. I'm part of the system. I'm a lawyer, right? Georgette is a victim of the system. She's a mother.
Survivor, Mr. Davis, survivor.
Survivor. Are we going to have the same opinions about things? No.
Right.
Doesn't make me right or wrong. Doesn't make her right or wrong. It's America. Everybody has their opinion, right? Everybody has their own opinion. And I feel that people should be able to express their opinion. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it, right? I mean, on TV, what do we have? We have MSNBC, we have Fox News, we have CNN. It doesn't matter what political persuasion I am. I mean, everybody has the right to their own opinion.
Then
And
we should call it news then.
And I try to, respect it. So Georgette says what she says. It's her opinion. I respect it, but I don't necessarily agree with it, everything that she says. But hey, that's what makes the world go round.
Well,
Mr. Davis uses strategy, Tracy. He uses strategy. An attorney he's great attorney. And I'm not saying that because he's sitting right here. I'm saying that because I chose to work for him for a reason.
Yeah.
However, because he's the best. However, with me, I don't have filters. I don't. If I see a judge, I will tell a judge, you're biased straight to her face. No doubt. I've done it before. He's seen the transcripts. I told the judge, you're biased. I don't have fear of that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that just because you have black robe fever, right?
Right.
However, you don't judge fairly. It doesn't give you the power. But what gives you the power is a piece of paper over another. But I call them stupid for a reason. Again, they're stupid. The definition of stupid is what? Seeing the truth, hearing the truth, seeing the truth, having evidence of the truth, but you still believe a lie. They still believe a lie. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, Mr. Davis is not going to agree with me on that, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I was able to set in because I was the last witness at the trial. My son was not there the last day because he had to go back to work. And I listened to the closing arguments from both lawyers. And the judge actually said that she had some concerns about some of the failures that CPS had done and that she was going to address it. But she said, let me have 5 minutes to go back and come back with a decision. She was gone for maybe 30 minutes. And when she came back, I knew it was over because she did not discuss any shortcomings with CPS. She basically read the file on my son from the day the kids were born and read all of the shortcomings that had happened between the mom and him up until that day. And the lawyer that I hired said we came in to fight them saying he abandoned his kids because that is all that the prosecutor, that's all the evidence they talked about was his abandonment. And he said, that's what we fought. But what she done was added all of his past to the record. And, said that he basically, in her opinion, she said he's unfit, but yet he was given the girls at the very beginning.
How did he lose the girls after getting them back?
There was an altercation between him and the mom, and they came and checked it out. He was never charged with domestic violence because there was none, but he had a warrant for failure to appear. So when they took him to jail, the social worker went to the jail and said, I got your kids and you'll never get them again. And that started the ball.
The social worker said that right from Jump Street?
When she went to the jail to see him while he was in the jail. And that's what she told him. I've got your kids and you're never going to get them back. You'll never see them again. And I think the fourth social worker that he has now at the end of this whole thing has actually sent him pictures of his girls and let him buy them clothes and toys, which I found to be cruel if you were never going to give him his kids back. And I told him, I said, son, I think they're doing that hoping you explode, so hoping you show violence, hoping you do something that can help prove to the judge, oh, look at what he done. And he's never done it. You know, he's never showed that. He has showed anger. Now they wrote in the paperwork, oh, every time we talk about taking his kids, he shows anger. Who wouldn't? You know, you talk about taking somebody's kids, of course they're going to display anger if they love their kids. But he's never been arrested for anything violent. He's been in jail 3 times, and all 3 times he said, Dad, I have time. I didn't have the money, so I did my 30 days. You know, but this is a young man that loves his kids. He's not perfect, but my fight is they broke up our family dynamic by not contacting me. And I raised my son. I stopped my military career when I became a single parent to raise my son. And family is all we know, you know, and you have a system. Of course, when he was ordered to take anger management, take domestic violence, and the judge even questioned, why is he taking a domestic violence class when there's no domestic violence in his history? And the social worker said, well, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, you know. And
I hope you implement the recommendations that I gave you, Tracy.
Oh, I plan to.
Okay, because the more and more you're telling me, I mean, it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre. You act like you've never. Come on, Davis.
Well, my wife.
We do this all the time, Tracy. All the time.
Well, my wife. I want to ask, do you think we have grounds for appeal? And I got your message, I think, loud and clear. I should fight for the kids from the grandparent standpoint to get them back in my family.
Yes, but your son should also appeal.
Okay.
Okay, so you have a problem, a legal problem. You should attack it from every angle that you can, because you never know what a court of appeals is going to look at or rely on or think about. Okay?
Okay.
So you want to attack it from all sources, all ways.
And I agree with you about the state level, because he did file a complaint. Now, I need a clarification on this, because when he filed his complaint against the social worker, the response that he got back was, she's not a licensed social worker in the state, so we can't do a complaint against her. But she works for the cabinet, so the cabinet still should have checked the complaint. She works for the cabinet. So I guess there are different levels. You know, you have licensed social workers and you have case workers. I'm learning this as I go, I guess.
No, your problem is you're going to the county and state to police its own.
And that's not going to happen.
The odds are against it.
Right.
That's why I'm sending you to the feds.
Okay.
Right. What branch of the service were you in? Army?
Oh, I was in the Army.
What was your MOS?
I was a 13 Bravo. You know what that is?
No.
Artillery.
Oh, okay.
But I only did that for the first 4 years because I wanted the bonus money. And then I became a weapons specialist. I was an armor, you know, taking apart M16s and handing them out and driving the first sergeant around.
Did you ever see any live action?
No. I actually got out in 90, right before the Gulf War.
What was your highest rank?
I made staff sergeant. I lost it several times, but you know, I'm like your Miss Georgette there. When I was younger, I spoke my mind, and it's really hard to do and keep stripes in the military. So I actually had a sergeant tell me one time he was gonna whoop my butt, and I said, "Well, you have to show me that." So that cost me rank and 45 days restriction and half a month's pay because I threatened a sergeant. But I didn't think it was a threat. He said he was going to whoop me. And where I come from, you got to show me that. You know,
It's a good one. Like Miss G there.
but when you said you speak your mind,
I do.
I've learned to be a little more tactful in how I get my point across.
What?
And that has taken me a lot of time and a lot of years. I mean, I'm 57, and one of my best friends, we don't agree on politics, we don't agree on religion, but what we do agree on is each one of us, like you said, having our own opinions, and we don't judge each other for what we believe or don't believe.
Exactly.
And but learning to be tactful has taken me some time. And I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser. And you know what I think the biggest thing is? When I became a single parent, I realized I have so much more to lose.
Well, Tracy, we're hoping that for Georgette as well. Older and wiser, you know.
Right.
Hey, Tracy, any other questions for this evening?
One question. The judge, before she made her decision, she said that all they really had to prove was that the kids had been in the system for 15 months. And they have. It's with COVID, it's been way past 15 months because the judge actually kept pushing everything back because she did not want to make a decision about my son's rights through Zoom. So it all got pushed back. And you know, what you were talking about, how they say the bond that the kids build with these foster parents.
Right.
I'm sure, like you said, my chances are slim to none, but we're going to fight all the way through.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe his appellate lawyer, and maybe even your lawyer can bring up the fact of this COVID. You know, in California, when they had COVID and it was affecting a lot of cases were stopped. You know, the time stopped ticking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of like, you know, that's what was supposed to happen, I think, under the COVID rules. But afterwards, it's kind of like, okay, I get the impression they don't even think about that. Right.
Right.
You didn't see your kids for 12 months. Oh, forget the fact that there was COVID.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Tracy, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to ask the question about, you know, visitations. And my son had 2 visits in 2 months with the kids. And that was all 4 kids, even the 2 older kids that were not his. And those visitations were actually stopped on advice of the social worker and a counselor who said that the older 2 girls are crying because the parents, you know, are leaving and so on and so forth. And that the older 2 girls were displaying anger and acting out after visitations. Now, what I'm about to say may sound cruel. The older 2 girls were not his. So I don't care about how the older 2 girls were acting out. His girls at the time were 15 months old. So his visitations with his girls had stopped because they could not display any of that. You know, They were barely talking.
Right. Well, Tracy, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate it. Please keep in contact. Maybe you can give us some updates.
I will.
Call me or call Georgette and let us know what's going on.
Okay. And thank you. It's been very informative.
Okay. Okay, very good. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Before we end the show, I am again going to play that trailer for the movie this Saturday, Failure to Protect. So hold on. Okay, here we go.
All right.
All right.
They say that they're interested in
They
taking
say
care
that
of
they're
the little
interested in
innocent
taking
ones.
care of the
They're
little
not
innocent
taking care
ones.
of our
They're not.
kids. They told us they could do a better job than us, Doc. That's what they said.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection. Okay, and that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
You're not proving your guilt, innocence, or anything. You're proving how better a parent you are to the system. And you're just driving to be the parent.
Typically associate blessing with this fictional, painless existence and things going as we think they should.
Because it's so frustrating when you're the parent and you feel like, yeah, the judge, he doesn't know. And like you said, who is he going to believe? The parents accused of these horrendous allegations, or the social worker? Why would she lie about it?
The kids are traumatized, and the one person that they need to go to is still unsure what really happened.
Were there signs there? Were there signs there? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
The families are destroyed, sometimes never to come back the same.
Come here. Kids are not safe in child protective services.
So my son with special needs has been in 4 different homes. It doesn't seem real.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke in your house. This someone took your child. Your flesh and blood.
Okay, Georgette. Tracy, thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see everyone tomorrow night on with Amanda Cisco, and it's Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Edition. So good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.